Hare Krishna. Today we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10 of the first canto, entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. Although we are not discussing that yet, we are discussing the kingdom of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And today is text number 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kamam Vavarsha Parjanyam Sarva Kama Dugamahi Sishi Chuhu Sma Vrajangava Payasodhasvatir Muda Kamam Vavarsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Dugamahi Sishi Chusma Vrajangava Payasodhasvatir Muda. Ladies, okay. Kamam, everything needed. Vavarsha was showered. Parjanyaha, rains. Sarva, everything. Kama, necessities. Dugha, producer. Mahi, the land. Sishichuhu sma, moisten. Vrajan, pasturing grounds. Gava, the cow. Payasa Udasvatihi, due to swollen milk bags. Muda, because of a joyful attitude. Translation. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water the people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Now, there's a substantial purport by Srila Prabhupada, substantial both in terms of quantity, but especially in terms of themes. It talks about economy, it talks about politics, so let's give attention, because there are many subjects to explore. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The basic principle of economic development is centered on land and cows. The necessities of human society are food grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc. One requires all these items to fulfill the material needs of the body. Certainly, one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all over the world there were regulated rainfalls. Rainfalls are not in the control of the human being. The heavenly king Indradeva is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of the Lord. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the horizon. And these rains are the causes of all varieties of production on the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there is ample production of valuable stones and pearls. Grains and vegetables can sumptuously feed a man and animals, and a fatty cow delivers enough milk to supply a man sumptuously with vigor and vitality. If there is enough milk, enough grains, enough fruits, enough cotton, enough silk, and enough jewels, then why do the people need cinemas, houses of prostitution, slaughterhouses, etc.? What is the need of an artificial, luxurious life of cinema, cars, radio, flesh, and hotels? Has this civilization produced anything but quarreling individually and nationally? Has this civilization enhanced the cause of equality and fraternity by sending thousands of men into a hellish factory and the war fields at the whims of a particular man? The answer is no, by the way, if you were wondering. It is said here that the cows used to moisten the pasturing land with milk because their milk bags were fatty and the animals were joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for a joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grass in the field? Why should men kill cows for their selfish purposes? Why should men not be satisfied with grains, fruits, and milk, which, combined together, can produce hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes? Why are there slaughterhouses all over the world to kill innocent animals? Maharaj Parikshit, grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir, while touring his vast kingdom, saw a black man attempting to kill a cow. The king at once arrested the butcher and chastised him sufficiently. Should not a king or executive head protect the lives of the poor animals who are unable to defend themselves? In the original Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, the poor animals who are unable to have conferences and meetings, so are unable to defend themselves. Is this humanity? Are not the animals of a country citizens also? Then why are they allowed to be butchered in organized slaughterhouses? Are these the signs of equality, fraternity, and non-violence? Therefore, in contrast with the modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira's is by far superior to a so-called democracy, in which animals are killed, and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. We are all creatures of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord himself is the seed-giving father, and material nature is the mother of all living beings in all shapes. Thus, mother material nature has enough foodstuff both for animals and for men. By the grace of the Father Almighty, Shri Krishna, by the grace of the Father Almighty, Shri Krishna, the human being is the elder brother of all other living beings. He is endowed with intelligence, more powerful than animals, for realizing the course of nature and the indications of the Almighty Father. Human civilization should depend on the production of material nature without artificially attempting economic development. To turn the world into a chaos of artificial greed and power only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. This is but the life of dogs and hogs. Om Gyanati Pradanasya Giranjana Salakaya Chakshuraminta Minatasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Namo Vishwabadaya Krishna Vistaya Budre Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So where to start? It's touching to see Srila Prabhupada was here alone with no movement. This was published originally in 1964, 1 year before Srila Prabhupada could travel to the States and try to start a movement. And you could see you can hear the urgency in his voice. You can hear the clarity in his vision, and we can read how revolutionary is his thought process. See, revolution has two meanings. One is the political meaning, when there is a certain regime, there is a certain government, and some force take over. So that's a revolution. But revolution has another meaning. Astronomically, a revolution is like an orbit of a planet. So one meaning of revolution is coming back to the same place. When a planet does a revolution, it comes back to the same place. So Srila Prabhupada is extremely revolutionary, and he was extremely revolutionary even for that time, because at the time India was enamored with the idea of industrialization. But he is there sitting, this probably in Chippiwada in Delhi or in Radhamudar, he was sitting there in North India, and he was preaching against industrialization. He was saying, man has certain needs, and he lists the needs. Basically, human beings have 4 bodily needs. We need food, we need shelter, we need clothing to cover ourselves, and then we need some medicines. And all of this can be supplied by nature. Food, Srila Prabhupada amply explains, grains, milk, fruits, that's enough for doing everything, for cooking everything. Shelter, you need stones, which are available everywhere, or if they're not available, you can make bricks with earth, which is available everywhere. And then wood, you have beams and other parts of the house. So anywhere people can build houses. There's nowhere that people can say, no, I cannot build a house. Then clothing, Srila Prabhupada speaks about cotton and silk. We can add wool, because Europe is colder, so you can have wool, you can have sheep, you can have wool, and you can cover yourself. And then medicines, which are mostly from herbs. Maharaj is a Ayurvedic expert, so he can tell you how to get medicines from natural sources. There is a story that when Krishna and Arjuna saved Maya Danava from the Khandava forest fire, there was this very powerful demon who somehow got trapped in that forest. That forest was burnt as an offering to Agni Deva. Apparently Agni Deva had some form of indigestion, so he had to, like a large scale Ayurvedic treatment. Generally, you just take few drops of this and a few what do you call, powders and things. But Agni Deva needed the whole forest, maybe like a huge inhaler or something. So Krishna and Arjuna burned the forest, and Agni was very, very pleased. In fact, he gives, that's the time when he gives the chariot to Arjuna. But there was this demon, Maya Danava, who was somehow trapped in this forest, and Arjuna saved him. And Maya Danava asked Arjuna, how can I reciprocate? If you like, I can give you Yantra Vidya. Yantra Vidya means how to do things with machines. In other words, technology. I can give you technology. You can do things with machines. But what I heard is that Krishna looked at Arjuna and said, don't take it. It's not a good idea. In the long run, it's not a good idea. I mean, maybe short term, like for instance, industrialization, as we have seen. I mean, industrialization is a new thing. It's only under 50 years old. It's not like traditional, we could say. So when tractors started, of course, agriculturists felt, oh, wow, I don't need to work so long. I can just go up and down with this tractor. I can plow the whole field. But then they didn't need the bulls anymore. And then they killed all the bulls for meat, because they don't need bulls. Bulls are essential in a pre-industrial society, because bull do the heavy work, the plowing. Sometimes you put bull around around a pole, and then they grind the grains. So bull are heavy power. I wouldn't say horsepower, but bull power, and it's essential. It's essential. But then when you have tractors, then you kill the bulls, and then you go to hell because you kill the bulls. So it's not a good exchange. I remember reading an article from more than 100 years ago. In America, they were just introducing the first cars. And they were written, now the cars have come. Our cities will be clean and free from noise. Because at the time they were using horse-driven carts. And they say, no more these horse tools in the roads. No more all these clanging sounds. Our cities will be clean and good odor and things like that. And then we see that sometimes the city become hellish with smog, hellish with traffic. Yesterday I was in the car with Ranganitai Prabhu around 4 o'clock, and he told me, now is traffic time. I looked around, there was almost no cars. I mean, so if you live in Ljubljana, you don't know what traffic is, really. You don't know. I mean, you may think this is traffic, but it's not. There's a place in Los Angeles there's a big highway going south, and there's 8-10 lanes, and there's so much traffic that the people have a joke. The local people have a joke. They say, this is the largest parking lot in the world. Because sometimes you see literally thousands of cars and they don't go anywhere. So things look like with machines, things looks like better. But in the long run, they become worse and worse. Like when television came about, by the way, in India, the first experimental TV programs started 2 days after Srila Prabhupada took sannyas in 59. So at that time, TV, in fact, Srila Prabhupada doesn't even mention TV here. So when TV came, people were very enthusiastic. Oh, TV, we can see what happened in the world. But then it became, first of all, an addiction. And people lost their capacity to think before they were reading books or they were listening. And then gradually people lost the capacity, unless there is something moving and sound, and music, people can't keep their attention. And of course, obviously, it was used as a instrument of propaganda, political propaganda. So you get brainwashed on certain ideas, and also entertainment. And personally, I mean, I'm not super old, but I remember how even television degraded in few years. I remember when I was going to elementary school, it was very exciting to come on Saturday morning, because that's the only time in which there was the comical of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. How do you call it in Slovenian? Stanley and Olio. Yeah, in Italian they call it Stanlio e Olio. So, or Buster Keaton, some of you may remember. So, in the whole week, we'll see that only Saturday. I remember we'll come back from school and we'll see half an hour of that, and then there was lunch like that. And I remember cartoons. Cartoons was quite rare. Sometime in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, there was like 1 hour for children. Some of you may remember, I don't know, the Slovenian TV programming, but probably it's similar. So 4 o'clock, you have 1 hour or two of children program. Then I joined the movement. One day I came back to my house, and there was my relative's house, and they had a small child. At that time, there were like full channels just for children, just comics for children. And the all day, 24 hours a day. All these Japanese cartoons, very violent, all this flying robot and thing. And I remember this little girl all day in front of the TV, which doesn't help thinking, doesn't help understanding anything. You live in a world of fantasy. It's like a hypnotizing. Like you just, and you stop seeing what's reality was not reality. Then video came, and in very few years, video games became very, very sophisticated. I remember the first video game, some of you will remember. You remember Pingotronic? Pingotronic was a machine. You put in maybe here there was another name, or maybe here under Tito there wasn't Pingotronic. But there was a machine, you put in the television, and then you had two players. It was like ping pong. And the only thing you do is move a little, you move a little line up, no? And the other person moves up, and it goes bing, bong. Some of you remember? You remember that? Huh? No, but that came later. This was in the early 70s. But anyway, that was the most technological, we can only call it video games. Just ping, pong, ping, pong, ping, pong. So like that. And then, of course, the video game became much more sophisticated. I remember once I was in Riga, Latvia, after Mongol Arctic. I came out to chant my japa, walking peaceful streets. And there were these video game arcades where people go and play. And 5:30 in the morning, people were already playing for the night before. Some people, I read some articles that some people even die playing video games because they forget about food, they forget about drink. They become so absorbed in this virtual reality that they forget their body, and finally they leave the body. I remember once in Rome, we went with two devotees, husband and wife with the child in the car. We went to a program. It was a program of an Indian temple. And all the time there was this child playing video games. And then during the program, he was always playing video games. And on the way back, he would always play video games. He didn't do anything else than play video games. And so, and people really become addicted. Once I heard one statistics from North America. It was maybe the 80s or the 90s. They made the calculation, a child, how much time they spend in front of the TV and how much time they spend with the parents. So it was, I don't know, something like 5 hours in front of the TV and maybe 30 minutes with the parents. And this is before the mobile phones, so it was still kind of a normal thing. So they asked the small children, so very small children when they're still very innocent, so they asked, so if you had to choose, would you like to keep the TV or your father? And many children say, no, the father can go. Because you never see him, you never speak with him. And when he speaks, often it's boring for the child. No, the father will tell, wash your hands, no, do this, do that. But the TV doesn't say that to you. So, and then of course came the internet. And the internet became much, much, much worse than the TV. Because the TV, at least, there is some control by the government. There is some some decency of there's some what you could say, some limit, not to what they can show on the TV, because the government controls it. But then the internet, everybody can put anything up, and then see, for instance, pornography. Before you had to go and buy some literature, buy some video, and like that. It was, you got to be a little careful that people don't see you buying. So it was, you got to be a little bit cautious. But then nowadays people can see anything about anything on their phone. They don't have to tell anybody. Nobody controls it. That's one aspect. And then the internet. I mean, you are familiar with the internet. I don't have to tell you about the internet. There was one person who said something which I found very intelligent. When you give internet to your child, you are not giving access to the world to your child. You're giving the world access to your child. In other words, it's the world that comes inside the mind of your child and tells whatever they want to tell. Mostly it's commercial or political, or anyway, certainly they're not uplifting messages. And then you see people around. In Slovenia, not so much, I noticed, that's positive. But in many cities, people are only on the screen. In some place like London, they had to put padding, like pillows around the poles, because people were crashing into the poles and breaking their heads. They don't look, they walk, boom, they bang their head, they end up in the hospital. So in some place they actually pad the poles so that people don't crash their skulls. And then of course gambling. Before you wanted to do gambling, you got to go. Either you have a poker table, or you have to go to a casino. In some countries there are no casinos at all. You have to go some special places. But now you can gamble, and people lose a lot of money. Anyway, I don't want to make a long list. And then, after internet, came AI. And AI, there's a lot of discussion. For instance, I was reading an article the other day in that American magazine, The Atlantic, and one professor was saying we should ban AI in all the universities, in all the colleges, not only because it's kind of cheating. Now people have to do a theme. They just ask ChatGPT, tell me about the history of Bulgaria between the 17th and the 19th century. And in 1 minute you got the essays done. And then, of course, there are programs that show if you have done it through the ChatGPT, but then there are programs to rewrite in a way that those programs don't recognize that you did it through ChatGPT. So anyway, but this professor says, you should stop everything. You should stop. You come to the university, you cannot have ChatGPT, you cannot have any AI. But besides the cheating aspect, people stop thinking. People stop learning. People stop acquiring knowledge. Open the book, read, try to understand what it means, then summarize it, take notes, discuss it. It's finished. You just put some prompt, everything is done. And nowadays, I don't know how much you follow the news, it may not be the most essential thing, but if you follow the news, if you read the opinion pieces, now they're saying, and may sound like science fiction, but many people saying, the scientists say, the people who created AI say, that at one point, in few years, AI can destroy humanity. AI can just think, we don't need humans anymore, and we don't want humans anymore, because they can actually limit our freedom. So there are realistic scenarios realistic scenarios, and many media are talking about this. And these are not some conspiration theory, some crazy people were saying that. These are the same scientists who created AI. And they say, stop, or at least control it. And of course, they are not controlling it because there's a lot of money. There's a lot of investment. They want it more and more powerful. So they're already seeing how AI, when they get their answers, they get the answer in a way to please the person who asked the question, not necessarily telling them the truth. Anyway, I may not be the best person to explain, but many people are saying at one point AI can just decide we don't need humanity anymore. We don't need human beings. So we need to destroy them. And they have control. Of course, everything is computerized. All the missiles and nuclear weapons, everything is computerized. So if AI at one point decide we don't want humans, humans are finished. Like in some of the movies, like The Matrix and so on and so forth. So Srila Prabhupada is very prophetic. We're talking about more than 50 years ago. He did not have much direct experience with TV. Of course, he didn't know video games. Of course, he did not know. He did not know internet, and he did not know AI. But he was already warning us what are he was talking about cinemas. What's the need of cinemas? And in fact, for thousands of years in India, like everywhere in the world, the entertainment, the arts were all centered on religious life. The great artists you can think of the Middle Ages or the Renaissance, Michelangelo. In English, they say Michelangelo, but it's Michelangelo. And all this mostly were inspired by biblical narratives. If you see the art in Slovenia was mostly in the churches. Go there and see the frescoes. So people knew the Bible, see the fresco, remember the story. Oh, this is Solomon, and this is David, and this is Saint this or Saint that. This is Jesus, and this is Mary, and this is God, like that. That was the art, and in one sense, I'm not saying entertainment, but that was the aesthetic expression of humanity. When the Indian cinema industry started, 70% of all movies were what they call it devotional, about Krishna, about Lord Ram, about the Devatas, what they later called mythology. But all was about Puranic stories. In the 30s, for instance, you may have heard about this Venice Film Festival, we just finished. In the 1930, the movie Tukaram, Saint Tukaram, came and participated in this festival in Venice. Huh? It won. Oh, good. I didn't know, but that's good news. It's a little old news, but it's a good news. Okay, so, and nowadays, of course, it's not like that. Anyway, my time is up, and I wanted to talk about other things, but I just got, see, that's one of the ills of industrialization. I wanted to say more things, but I got stuck with the machines. Any reflection, comments, experiences? Yes? We have a mic?
I'll translate.
Acha.
This is exceptional lecture that touches our hearts of all of us right now.
But I don't know if all of us. I mean, you can speak for yourself. Sorry, no, you are very encouraging. But maybe some people didn't like it at all. Yes.
This year I was at the camp with my Guru Mahatma Prabhu, and there were 40 young devotees. And we spoke about this topic. And this is also their concern. They live in this world. Although they are the second generation, they have association of other young people where they cannot avoid this technology. Is this a danger? Is our Krishna consciousness threatened by this? In the future?
In the present, I would say. In the present. And yes, Srila Prabhupada, part of his vision was to create community, self-sufficient communities where we don't have to depend on external society, and especially, we could say, culturally self-sufficient community, where we have our own education, we educate our children, and we insulate them. Insulate is different than isolate. Insulation is different than isolation. There are two words, insulation and isolation, and they're different. Insulation. Anyway, protection for our children. Of course, Srila Prabhupada also say, okay, our girls could go to the college and learn how to teach to the children. So we are not saying our children should never go to college or university, because if they want to teach, if they want to learn some technical or say sophisticated skills like being a doctor or an engineer or an advocate, of course you need that exposure. But Srila Prabhupada certainly wanted education of our children managed by us, by devotees. In fact, he wanted the best devotees to be involved in the Gurukula and so on. So this is an aspect of the movement which we are way behind. Srila Prabhupada was very, very clear, but we are way behind in that. When we tried, was a bit of a failure, largely. And so right now many people don't even want to try anymore. They're kind of scared or burnt. But of course this could be a big discussion. Maybe one of this evening, if there is interest, I can talk about Srila Prabhupada's vision of Gurukula. It was very clear, and he personally put so much energy. So yes, our children should be protected. Now, of course, Krishna consciousness, if they have like I'm here only since few days, but I interacted with some of the youth, especially some of the families who have grown up daughters, and I see they're natural devotees. So although they have access to everything, but they choose to be in Krishna consciousness. So that's hopeful. So it's a danger. I mean, the material entertainment and material life, it's a danger for everyone, not only for our children, also for us, for our adults. So, for instance, there is a group called the Amish in America, and they're very protective of their community. So they don't even have phones. Sometimes they only have phones outside the house, because they make furniture. So for business they may have, but they don't have phones. They don't have TV. No way they have TV. So their life is centered on the community. Is centered on having babies. They have, on average, every couple has 7 children, on average. Often some are 10, 12, some only are 3, 4. But on average 7 children, and that's how they grow. And they're very based on agriculture. And one thing, because they live in the American society. They live in the countryside, but they interact. Like for instance, I remember once we were shopping at Walmart, and the Amish came inside because they had to buy stuff. So what to do? They thought very deeply what to do, how to protect these children, because children see cars. They don't use cars, by the way. They have only horse buggies. Huh? You can see, if you go, for instance, to Gita Nagari, Pennsylvania, even without looking for them, sometimes you see them. Anyway, my point is that the elders thought what to do, how to protect our children, because our children see the world, but we have a different world. So when they are 16, they have something they call Rumspringa, which is translated as the wilding. Yeah, wild, like wilding. They say go wild, and they just send them into the world. They pay, see the world, experience whatever you want. Some experience everything: sex, drugs, rock and roll, everything, and then you decide. If you want to come back, you live like an Amish, and you keep all this outside. If you want, you stay outside. And what I find interesting is that 90% of the youth come back, and for the rest of their life, they're Amish. They experience the world fully. Now they can do anything they want. They go to these big cities. Sometimes they go abroad, and parents sponsor this. It's not that they're running away from home. They are sent home. Say, now you go. Go and see the world. And then you decide. You come back, you live like a rigorous Amish. Otherwise, you stay outside. And most people choose to come back and live like an Amish. Now, I would not recommend this for our children because they're already so immersed in the world. I don't know what else you can do, So I'm just saying that different communities, especially serious religious community, think how to protect our children. And of course, ultimately, the highest protection is a higher taste. When people are happy in kirtan, or people are happy with the holy name. I mean, Sunday I was impressed by the singers, I don't know the names, but bhajan, before the lecture. They're very good, they seem to enjoy, and then the girls were dancing. So ultimately, the higher taste. Okay, so we can stop here. Oh, Maharaj, you want to say some? Sure.
Yeah, one thing to add, nice lecture, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Is that there's something else embodied in the television. First of all, the television has a hypnotic vibration itself that takes away your active intelligence so that you become receptive to whatever is, it's actually a vibration put out by the television. The second is now and before they embody in messages subliminal information. So we're not even conscious of actually how they're programming us in the program, in the television programs. What to speak of AI, what they're doing, and other things. They become much more sophisticated. I mean, the whole technology is specifically to control people. It was never made for, entertainment or anything else, or to make people's lives more comfortable. It was specifically meant for control, the whole thing. Even like, for instance, Facebook, the sponsors of Facebook and these other things like Google are all the alphabet agencies of the United States.
The alphabetic?
Alphabet, like CIA and all these.
Oh, okay. Oh, the acronyms, you mean?
Yeah, the acronyms. These are the startups of these. Facebook, Google are all started up by the American and other agencies meant for infiltrating, controlling people.
Thank you.
You know what I thought.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, we thank you for your attention. Also those who are on the internet right now watching Yukta Vairagya. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. I wanted to speak about cows, I want to speak about democracy, but there was no time.
Demon crazy.
Huh?
Demon crazy.
It's a complex discussion.